All right, everyone ready? We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Would you please take roll?
Ms. Atkins? Here. Mr. Houston?
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel? Here. Mrs. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Wylage?
Here.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the August 21st, 2023 agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wylage?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Commendation and good news.
Well, the good news is we are back with all of our staff. Students will be back on Wednesday. So I guess part of good news is it does look like we are going to be up with students and up fairly significantly. So I won't throw out numbers, but I think it'll be well over 100 with new students. So with that said, that creates some interesting dilemmas, which we have tonight. We're going to have to talk about capping a class, and for open enrollment's sake, does not mean we can cap them for anybody that moves into the district, but so I guess that's good news that so far a lot of people have chosen Lewis Central as their school this year, so that's great. Otherwise, I want to give kudos to Dr. Hartman. She did a fantastic kind of welcome back to school for our new staff members. Followed that up with a great professional development on Thursday, all around MTSS and making sure that we're reaching students where they are, whether they're high, low, in between. That's making sure that we're focused on that. And then Friday was kind of back to school. We had a great turnout for, I guess, well, they kind of had to be there, but great turnout for our back to school meeting and breakfast. And special thanks to White Catfish for performing. They let me talk them into playing a couple songs for our staff to kind of get them going for the school year. And then other than that, we're up and ready to go. First football game this Friday, first volleyball game next week. So just excited. So.
Absolutely. Any others, commendation, any good news?
I will say, just a reminder that this Friday, that the football game, we will be dedicating the scoreboard and the field. And so we're going to do that prior to the game. We'll probably ask, we're going to ask if any of you want to join us kind of on the track beforehand, as well as the Booster Club, and then Iowa Western. They're going to have some representatives down there as well. Kind of a commemorative coin toss. You just basically stand out there and wave at the crowd. And then we are going to provide, we did a video, or Josh is putting together a video in which Dr. Kinney says a few words, I say a few words, Booster Club president says a few words, I think Coach Camrad says a few words. And so just highlighting the fact that, it's only through partnerships that we can make that happen, because I think people forget, or that maybe they haven't heard that, even though we paid for the majority of the field, Iowa Western does pay us to 20%, a significant chunk for that. And then the Booster Club is not actually going to cost the school district any money. That's all Booster Club and Iowa Western. So, so that's pretty awesome. So without those partnerships, those just simply don't happen. So.
What time on Friday?
We'll probably go out about 6:45. So I asked if you're going to come down and meet down about 6:30, 6:35, and we'll just kind of meet down at that double entrance there right by the concession stand, and then kind of walk out together from there. So
Okay.
Don't have to be, but you're more than welcome.
Be there.
All right.
And you guys should all have passes. And if you don't, then I'll make sure you can get in. So
You just need
Yeah,
your
I've got
pass.
it.
I can show my
yeah,
badge.
just your
I do.
just your badge. Okay.
All right, we'll go on then to comments and suggestions. This is the first time during our agenda that anyone in the audience or anyone online, if they want to type something in, can address the board. Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
There is an updated personnel sheet.
Yes, thank you. An updated personnel sheet? Do we have a copy of that? There we go.
And then the next page, Lisa, is all of our lane changes.
Would you mind scrolling back up to the first page, please, or halfway?
What'd you say?
I just wanted to see the first page again, the starred ones. A little bit higher. Thanks.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffield.
Yes. Report, 6.01, Superintendent Report.
So I kind of gave the majority of it during kind of the good news there, just with the students coming back. Student enrollment looks to be way up. We have officially, or Mrs. Shuffle and I met with Ronco last week, 2 weeks ago, and we discussed with them kind of a closeout process, and so I will be contacting you guys to talk about what we kind of talked about doing as a final agreement with that. And so hopefully that means that we're getting to the very, very end. They still have a bunch of carpet work they have to do in the auditorium, and there's some roofing work that has to be done both at the auditorium and the operations building. But otherwise, they're finally getting to the point where it's ours. So that's kind of exciting. We did, as far as the football field and the scoreboard goes, everything is closed out there, so you'll be seeing final payments here in the next month for the scoreboard, so that's done. The new light is in and it's done. The high school bathrooms, the commons bathrooms are almost completed. They're looking really, really good. I was kind of surprised we put new dividers, like deeper dividers in the urinals, and the problem is they're not very wide, and so some of those, if you're a bigger person, you're going to want to go to the far end to use the urinals, but otherwise, outside of that, the bathrooms look beautiful. I think our community and students and staff will be happy to see those. The Titan Hill carpet is finished. I've heard lots of compliments on it when people walked in over the last couple weeks, either when they're visiting or they're picking up LCLC kids, or tonight when they're dropping off supplies. So, and we had a huge turnout again for supply drop-off night. I parked, I think, no fewer than 1 million cars. So that's pretty good for our student population, I think. So other than that, that's about it.
Is all the damage taken care of from the windstorm?
Yeah, so it's watertight. It just has taken forever for the insurance companies to review and give us kind of the go-ahead on pricing and stuff.
Okay.
And it took us forever to get a quote from the Skylight people because of materials and back order and everything else. But we did finally, and then we had some issue with, we were still finding stuff, like we didn't realize that storm actually took out our main cooling station for like our actual coolers in the cafeteria. So we had to get a whole new system there. So it's just kind of, we're still finding stuff that's kind of
Still in
a
process.
residual.
But we're watertight.
Yeah, we're watertight, well, for the most part. I mean, a little water inside a pool area doesn't really hurt us, but, yeah, so we're hoping. Although a lot of materials, like the Skylight stuff is still, they're saying 8 to 12 weeks. So, I mean, I told them, I said, we gotta be tight by winter. Like, that's a have to. So we are still using Kern's Pool, and we'll probably at least do that through the girls' season, unfortunately, so. Any other questions?
Anything else? All right, we'll go to 6.02, Geo Bond Communication Update and Elementary Conceptual Drawings.
So we've just started kind of an informational strategy that Mr. Allen and I are putting together videos. We just put one together this morning that'll, basically what we did when we first came out was we said, well, let's do one that kind of has all the information. Well, it was a really long video, and it's hard to get people to watch a really long video on Facebook that doesn't involve animals or anything really funny. And so, so I ended up making this really long video, not sure how many people watched it. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna do a whole bunch of really short videos, like 1 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, somewhere in there. And basically just kind of break it down piece by piece. So the first video is just simply, what are we doing? You know, that we're gonna do, that the bond is being run for 4 parts to do infrastructure, build a new elementary school. That was the product of looking at additions. It wasn't just, we just said, let's build a new elementary school. We explored the addition portion first, and the feasibility of that, got together with community members, kind of determined if you're gonna spend the same amount of money for 2 additions, why wouldn't you just build a new elementary school and get way more space? So that made a lot of sense. And then the middle school renovation and the middle school addition. I know that Mr. Allen just put out today a post about the middle school renovation and kind of highlighted a couple key areas, ADA accessibility and the middle school bathrooms. And so we'll continue to do that. And then I'll continue to put out information regarding some of the rumors that are out there. Like, for instance, one of the rumors that's out there right now is that we're building a new elementary school because Twin City is dangerous. And I said, well, that couldn't be more wrong. I mean, in fact, the very first thing we did was try to figure out how to put an addition down in Twin City onto Creft. But the issue became, one, cost, because you can build a new elementary school for the cost it was going to take us to do 2 additions. And number 2 was just, how are you going to get that many more students in that area? Because there's literally no more roads. It's just, and it's in a community, it's hard to traverse. So trying to figure out the egress in there. And not only that, we're not going to sell the Creft Elementary School. We're going to utilize it as a therapeutic school. So there's, just so we can bring back, a lot of students that we're sending out to therapeutic settings because we don't offer one ourselves. And it offers services to students who otherwise wouldn't be getting them. And so I wouldn't do that if I felt in any way that was a dangerous area. So I'm not sure why that rumor is out there, and there's a host of other rumors, regarding that, that we're going to use the money to build an athletic facility. Were we talking about an athletic facility at one point? Absolutely. But that was always as a capital campaign in conjunction with Iowa Western, not ever as a standalone, this is what we're going to bond for. In my opinion, we bond and we ask the taxpayers to help us work on educational settings, so, and then the other portion would have to be a total capital campaign. So it's not that that's off the table, it's just not part of this bond at all. So trying to kind of go back and try to talk about those things individually and just kind of let them know what the bond is and isn't. So we'll be putting out videos at least a couple a week, and then a couple just still posts just to kind of give some information. We'll continue to update the bond webpage, and then we're also going to, I'm currently trying to finish up my scheduling of when I'm going to do my nightly events. So right now I'm shooting for 6 nightly events, a couple of them to be coupled with the parent-teacher conferences, because if they're going to come to school anyway, they might as well wander in and hear about it a little bit. And then outside of that, I'll have some information and tables set up at football games and volleyball games, and just try to make sure people have a good understanding. Whether or not they agree to it or even vote, I mean, that's totally up to them, but I just want to make sure that they have a firm understanding of what it is and what it isn't. So yes, we're going to hit it really hard. The goal was always to start that at this time of the year. You start it way too early and people just kind of forget about it. So we're going to do that. Tonight, I actually have I have we have our principal architect with us from Shive Hattery. Michael should be on there. Whoa. There he is. It's like you're in the Matrix. It's like we see like a, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So he won't have to talk much. He's just here to answer questions. So first of all, what we're going to do is, I'm going to highlight this. I've been working with them. These are strictly conceptual. There is nothing firm about this. This is when we want to show people maybe what this could be. That's what this is about, And what I want to do is I want to highlight the use of the space and the opportunities it provides us, because it is such a large piece of ground. It really provides us a lot of really cool opportunities. So we have, for tonight, we have 3 separate kind of floor plan, should you speak, but all have kind of the same, I call it like the finger plan, like it looks like almost like a hand, like a bunch of fingers. And what you'll see here is, if I'm going to highlight it, is you'll see, if you scroll up just a little bit for me, please. Oh, scroll up, there you go. Oh, there we go. I just want to see the road. You'll see that for the elementary school, which is all on the left side, the right side just kind of toned that out for now. That is all hypothetical, futuristic planning. Because we bought so much land, we're going to be required to show that there is a potential plan for what we would do with that ground. So that's what that is about right now, but that's not a part of the bond whatsoever. That's all hypothetical. But what you see here is you see the access coming right off of South Omaha Bridge Road. They will come in, they will go off to the left or off to the west. And then if you have grade level students, you'll go ahead and cut across, and you'll go ahead and drop off out front, and then you'll exit. You're not sharing lanes with buses, you're not sharing lanes with staff should already be there. So it should be a pretty smooth process, and we have all of South Omaha Bridge Road as a backup for that as well. And so you'll see parking right here for about would you say it's about 300 spaces right now? Michael? For about 300 spaces, and there's parking off to the left too for the preschool. Right, up, down. Nope, there it
There
is.
you go.
So that's another parking lot there, and then looking at adding another parking lot, and you'll see on the right side, that kind of loop on the right, that's strictly for buses. So buses come in there, buses drop off, buses pick up, and then they take off. So potentially an opportunity for some more like staff parking on that side there. The goal will be to have about 400 parking spaces down there, because we have pretty large classes, and when we have events, we take up a lot of parking. And unlike the neighborhoods, there's not a lot of other places to park around here. So making sure we have enough parking is a primary focus. If you have a preschool student or you're a daycare person, you're actually gonna, instead of taking that left, you're gonna head up to that loop, and you'll be able to drop off or park and walk your students inside in that area right there for your drop off. But then you can also continue down the loop after you're dropped off, and you can drop off the remainder of your students as well. And so we're gonna line all the drop off and pickup to be at the same time. So on the left, you kind of see the two areas there. That is really the preschool wing, and then the other wing is daycare, cafeteria, that kind of thing. And what you see right there between the two is you see a playground. And if you look between every finger but the one, you'll see another playground. So a playground there, a playground there, a playground there. So the goal is to have ample playground space out here for the students to be able to interact and enjoy. And all of those playgrounds will be designed as indoor-outdoor playgrounds. So that's just on this particular concept right here. And then you'll see each wing then, you'll see kindergarten. In this particular drawing, we put the gym in the middle. We said, what happens if the gym's in the middle? You'll see first grade, and then you'll see second grade off to the right. And then like your media center, offices, classrooms for music, classrooms for art, everything else are going to be along that front corridor there, kind of just along all those windows. So, and then the cafeteria is over by the preschool and the daycare right now. So in this particular drawing, if you look over to the right, and I'll explain what the right is, the right would be, if we were to do anything with this space, the right would be an opportunity for us to partner with somebody and move our baseball softball field. And the reason we would do that is because then we can utilize the space that the baseball softball field currently take up and expand our tennis courts and add another parking lot, because for really our events, we just don't have enough parking, even though we have all the junior high, all the middle school lot and all the high school lot. So that would be very futuristic though, not a part of the bond whatsoever, but you can see then how there's additional parking, how down below the baseball field, there's ample space there for another youth field for soccer and football. I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to that area on the right side. So we can look at that. If you go to the next, I'm going to show you all three of the drawings, and then you guys can kind of tell us like what you liked, what you didn't like, questions you have, etc. This one's the exact same with the lanes. So you got the one continuous lane in and out, you have the same bus lane, the same parking, you have the same setup with preschool, and the cafeteria and the playgrounds are all the same. What's different is they moved the gym from being more of a center location. They moved it to the outside. Now the reason they moved it to the outside is because this is going to be a storm rated area for eventually, if we were to develop the area on the right as athletic fields, this would be the area that would be storm rated for any of the spectators, the players, etc. And so And it also allows us, especially if we have that little parking lot in the bus lane, to, when people want to utilize the gymnasium, like for youth practices or community events, they're going to be able to park and then go in without having to enter the rest of the school. So they'll have, that's a benefit of having the gymnasium off to the right side.
Is that a full-size gym?
It's an oversized gym with a curtain that can drop in the middle to separate it, so into multiple areas.
Would they use
It-
that then for like staging for bus, you know?
Yes, so they can use it for
Leaving.
staging, they can use it, yeah, they can use.
At the end of the
yeah,
day.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I wasn't thinking of that far ahead, but yeah. For
Yeah,
staging, that'd be
Because if the
great.
buses are right there, it's easier to
Yeah.
have the kids come and, okay, this is bus number 1,
Absolutely.
2, 3.
Yeah, and the thing with the gymnasium though is there's no bleachers right now, you know, like it's, when you talk about youth, you talk about, you know, essentially it's just playing area. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't add bleachers, you know, that just adds square footage and it adds, you know, essentially more costs. And there's no cost tied to this right now. These are simply conceptual. The thing I like about the fingers versus the block building is this allows every classroom to have natural light. So every classroom will have, so each one of those corridors, if you put the hallway down the middle, you have room for 15 classrooms, 7 on one side, 8 on the other, going back and forth down all 3 of those corridors, which then provides us the opportunity to expand significantly when that time comes. So,
What's our biggest class right now at the elementary level as far as sections go? Do we have one that's 10 or 11?
yes, we have several that are 10, and kindergarten just went to 11.
Okay.
They have 230 students, so they're at 11 sections, they're right at 20 per section. Right now, all first grade's right at about 200 students, so they have they have 10 sections, so they're at 20 a class. But then you get up to second through fifth, and all of those classes have a minimum of 230 students, and they all have 25 or 26 kids in the class. So, and they're currently at 9 sections each. So, but the problem with Titan Hill is there's no space. We couldn't add a 10th section if we wanted to. So they're already at 25 and 26 kids per class in Titan Hill. So if you go to the next one, this one's a little bit different, and we show, just because, again, this is just like playing with Legos, you know, like you're trying to get different formats, different layouts. And this particular one, you would have the cafeteria and the gym and the pre-K, and everything's more on that one side. And then your kindergarten first and second are more on your left side. And you have 2 total different pickup and drop off, one for your K2, and then the other one's just for your pre-K and kindergarten. So just a couple different layouts there. This one I don't love as much, just because I like the continual drive. I like the larger parking lots. I like, so.
Wait until you're ready.
Oh, you're fine.
Questions.
Yeah.
So the thing that would be, and I know this is very preliminary, so, you know, we're doing a lot of this because we don't have expansion capability, is I think for the broader public, when they see these drawings, how you would be able to expand on the building and still use the real estate footprint that we have, since we do have so much land, I think is going to be important for people to understand.
Right. And right now, the classrooms are all, the building is all designed to have about 4 to 5 additional classrooms per wing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the next expansion, we would have, I mean,
It's many, many moons.
many, many moons, yes.
And I think that's important for people to understand, because it's
Yeah.
hard to get an idea of how much bigger this is than
Right.
the space that we have today. I personally think the second one feels the most directionally correct.
I agree.
I agree. I have a
Yeah.
follow-up question to that with the space. For the pre-K, how many students are you hoping, or how many students would this hold conceptually, or what's your goal?
So it's the same thing. We're trying to get, you know, space for up to, you know, pre-K is not as much, because we until they go full-time classroom or full day pay, you know, we're still gonna have half-day programming. So We probably need, right now we have 5 classrooms. I'd love to expand that to 10. The Council Bluffs Early Learning Center, I think, has 14. So that would be kind of what the range that we would look here, between 10 to 14. This was not, right now, this is not bringing any birth to 3. This is simply just school-age students. I have a lot of reservation about going birth to 3 because it takes a lot more space, and it takes a lot more time and effort and energy. You know, I think grade level is still, we need to get our grade levels right first, as far as our kindergarten, and then find space, or our preschool, and find space for kindergarten through 2nd before we start thinking birth to 3. But yeah, to answer your question, that this contains the same, essentially, footprint that the other ones would. And if you think half-day programming, we probably won't ever get to 15 classrooms, 15 full classrooms with half-day programming. We'd probably be more like 9 to 10.
Does this include those daycare options for preschool, or is that also a down the road?
No, that's what the other section is across. So the daycare option, that whole area over there is daycare and cafeteria area. And so that
those
is
half-day
alternate.
programs, that's
Correct.
space for them, the other, okay.
So it's still half-day preschool programs, but you'll be able to receive full-day care if you choose. So your student would come, let's say they have AM preschool, and then PM, they would shift over down the hall and go to daycare. And then the kids who start off the morning in daycare would then switch over to preschool in the afternoon.
Thank you.
Yep.
The only other thing that I was gonna ask is on the playground side, do all K through 2 go for recess at the same time?
They don't.
Okay.
No. They alternate. So alternate lunches, alternate recesses. The preschool playground, they have completely different requirements,
Yeah,
height
yeah.
requirements than the other ones. So
Yeah, and that's the other thing I do like, is that is very isolated, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit protected from rough play, if you will.
yeah, and I think I like the fact that all the playgrounds are, you know,
Yeah.
pretty isolated. So, but any other thoughts about the egress, the parking, the, you know?
I think the egress is good. The flow is good compared to what goes on today.
Yeah.
I like the second one the most.
And I agree. Parking, at times it'll look like you have way too much, and then other times you're gonna, I mean, just look out here. I mean, they're parking on that baseball thing.
Yeah. Are you guys good with leaving the stuff on the right there as, I mean, like I said, that's all hypothetical, but we do we really should show what potential plans could be for that area. And I think when we talk about need, that would be one of the areas we would look at, just because it would allow us to recapture that space by the high school.
Well, and that's a question that gets asked a lot too, is why so much?
Yeah.
Why so much land? So the visual will be good.
Is that a full-size football field down on the bottom?
Michael, is that a full-size football field? I feel like I'm talking to like God up there. So.
It is.
It is, he said.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be nice to.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be nice to be able to show a building over there if we were to have to, I have no idea what you would ever need it for, but,
Yep, so they will also down below, because we still own, if you can zoom back out. So that's far low, but we own all that ground down below as well, or we will. So they will have to come up with a conceptual footprint for that as well, and that will be a building. So that would be either if we get to the point where we need an 8-9 building, we get to the point where now we're gonna move early childhood to its own space and recapture those classrooms for additional, so there's still some opportunity.
so really stretching the logic here. If we were to have to expand the middle school, if we were to have to restructure it where we have to put more space down here,
Yeah.
the old high school, could you fit the whole stadium and enough parking into this footprint to where you could use the space between the high school and the middle school for expansion of either one of those? Could you fit it all in here?
I'd have to look at the map again.
The only reason why I asked, I'm just trying to think of, if you have to do anything to those two schools, they're fairly landlocked. But if you took out that space, you could then use it.
Or, to his point, that's where you shift grades and you've got an 8th, 9th school.
Yeah,
If
I'm
it
just trying to
doesn't
think
work.
of things, since we're talking conceptual, I think several different
Yeah.
ideas is something to kind of think about. I would still show them completely separate from
Yeah.
what you want to do with the,
Well, and that's what I mean. I think right now I'm
Elementary.
gonna have them plug a building down there just to show like, there is some, this is why we have this land, because
Yeah.
we're a growing district, we could potentially, that building can be whatever. It could be
Yeah.
an 8-9 building. Maybe it is a new football complex and we reutilize that space, but it's nice having options.
Oh, yeah.
So.
yeah. No, and I think that's what's important to convey, is that this,
Absolutely.
we will no longer be landlocked.
Correct, yeah. And that's exciting. So, and we will, while all this ground is not being utilized, we will have the option to continue to lease it until, as for farming, until
Yeah.
we're ready to do something with it.
No, but what you have shown over there are logical things to move over there.
I try not to be too far off base, so. Okay, if we go to the next one, now we get to is there any other feedback on layout?
I like the first or the second one. The third one just kind of looks like,
Third's a no. for
yeah,
me.
3 is, as far as I'm concerned, one that you can probably set aside.
Okay.
I personally like the second because of the gym on one side, the cafeteria on the other, and it kind of takes away some of those distractions as people are
Yep.
going between. And
Right.
having that gym by the potential
Mhm.
other sport areas, and like you
Right.
said, it's separate from the school, you can kind of block off the school if people use the gym for community reasons.
Right, yep. Yeah,
And this is all one floor, so. it's
all
good.
one floor, yep. Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you click the school one first. So here is, like, again, I'm gonna reiterate, these are all very hypothetical, okay? So here is the hypothetical, the front of what the elementary could look like if the bond were to pass. As you'll see, there's some color on the windows, it's pretty clean lines, lots of natural light. You can see just little things like in the walkways. We just got done talking today about, would it be fun to, instead of having the landscaping, could you have kind of like the Henry Doorly Zoo has, where they have little like climbing statues and stuff, like as you walk in, because sometimes I look at all the landscaping and I'm thinking, oh man, that looks beautiful right now, but not sure what that's gonna look like in about 3 years. So anyway, it's just like, again, it's a blank template. I do like they bring in some natural wood color. That's actually it's a metal panel. Council Bluffs did the same one on their early learning center, but then keeping with, and you can't see a lot of the like there's just little details, and even the Navy building, there's just little, like the slats don't go straight up and down, they're kind of sideways, like, so just different elements to it. Initial thoughts on this?
It looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the next one, if you will, please. Go to the cafeteria. So again, trying to keep the concept of lots of color, lots of light. This would be the cafeteria. You can see the strong branding in the corner. You'll see, I'm big on branding, so you'll see the LC everywhere, the Titan head everywhere. And then again, just lots of color, lots of light. Just make it a really, fun place that kids, want to be. Okay, if you go to the gymnasium. Again, these are all very conceptual, but these will be the pictures that we'll share out to the public when the time comes, I guess technically right now, but we'll share these out. Again, the gymnasium, as you can see, it's a 96-foot college level gymnasium, or college size. You can have 6 basketball hoops really easily in there, but then they play with the colors like in the gym floor and kind of do some different unique things. Again, strong branding, LC in the corner, but then also a net that falls down in the middle to be able to separate it. So you could have PE on one side and, indoor recess on the other.
Is that a
So,
rock wall?
what's that? Oh, yeah, so in the far corner, That's just, again, all very conceptual. That whole area over there is a rock wall. There's a pad that folds up onto the wall to hide the rocks and then you unhook it and it comes down, and kids can work on their fine gross motor skills, by climbing and by doing, So, just a little element in there. Okay. And then if you look at, go to classroom. So this is just a typical classroom, So again, lots of color. It's just fresh, clean lines. Just, you'll see they're good sized classrooms. We want to make sure that, hopefully we're not ever back to the point we need 28 kids in a class, but, we want to make sure that there's plenty of space for tables and for desks and chairs, and also play areas, especially if you walk in any of our classrooms right now. They have a lot of imaginative play areas, centers, those types of things. So we want kids to be up and moving around. And if you go to the last one, so this one's the most fun. So this is one of the indoor-outdoor playgrounds. So what you'll notice is instead of doing like one really large playground, we have 3 separate playgrounds that are all meant for 60 to 80 kids. So this is an indoor-outdoor playground. We talked about doing different themes in each one of the playgrounds. So in one playground that are all kind of our identity. So like in one of our themes, this one here is just like a river. So there's like a little boat, and there's like little paths that are in the stream that they can utilize, some gross motor bikes or that kind of stuff and get around. And then on the outside, it's kind of hard to see on this picture, but you can look through and there's an actual play structure and places to sit. And then beyond that would be like a blacktop to be able to do basketball foursquare. And then beyond that would be a field, and that's all contained within a fence. So everything is right there. And if you go, I guess don't go to the next one, stay on there. But one of the things we did talk about was it would be really cool if we could find some community partners who are, saying like, hey, and I'm going to throw out Google there in case Google's listening. But, if Google says, what, yeah, it'd be really cool if with one of these, we'd like to do the inside of one of these. And so we could do a really tech themed, Google theme. So we get these kids, an idea and ingrained about, wow, this is what it's like to be a Googler, or you can get UP to come in and do, a train-based theme, and then everybody, and then something that kids, when they grow up, they're like, yeah, it was really cool. I was, I was on a fake train half the time when I was growing up, whatever it is, but yeah, different themes, different playgrounds, but all with the indoor-outdoor opportunity. All of it is 100% ADA accessible. All of it, you'll be able to go in and out, and it's going to be so much fun to watch students who currently have limitations really not have as many limitations. So it's going to be pretty awesome. And that's about it. Those are all the renderings that I asked them to make. Just what I asked them to do is I asked them to give me a picture of what the building looks like, a footprint, common spaces, and a classroom, because those are the things that we can really see. So essentially, this would be what we would share out. And while these are still very conceptual, because who knows how much a climbing wall costs, we might not end up with a climbing wall. Like, it's still important. People want to see visuals. They want to have an idea. I like the fact that they're the same color scheme that going throughout, the same branding, same large spaces. They've done a really nice job of making it all very congruent. So I guess thoughts on any of that?
I love the playground ideas,
Yeah.
because that really does matter to kids.
Does. Oh, it's
They
it's
label the
huge.
playgrounds boring
Yeah.
ones or fun ones, and, yeah, it'll make a big difference.
I do agree with you on the landscaping. It looks really cool in a picture, but much harder to pull off for year on end.
Oh,
We
yeah.
do like the black squirrels in the park in Bayless, but something themed around Elsie,
Yeah.
for your little statues.
That's just it. Trying to
Yeah.
figure out how can we just do something different that makes it a cool walkway when you're walking in, but at the same time, doesn't cost a lot of money, and we can maintain it, so. All right, Michael, do you want to add or ask any questions? Do you have anything else to share?
No, I'm good. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we'll go on then to our discussion items, 7.01, classified employee handbook update.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Andrea. She has some updates for the classified employee handbook that came about as a result of us switching and doing or adding benefits to really all of our full-time employees now, so.
Yes, so majority of the updates are, we did change our part-year employees to a school year employee, just so that everyone, concept of it just made more sense to us instead of the part year. And then we changed, you'll see in a few places, we also needed to change our, for discrimination and whatnot with Lori T's retirement. And then we did need to update our benefits, since we are offering benefits to our full-time school year employees now as well. And that benefit package being different than the full-time, full-year employees. So that was majority of what that was. And then there's a couple of employee groups that we were able to remove that information because the employee group no longer exists. No major changes, just really updating to what we're currently doing.
Is there any questions? We're good with the changes? Any questions on those?
No.
All right. We'll go to 7.02, policy update 105, assistant animals on the first reading.
Yep, so this just expands our policy, the 105, assistance animals, and just allows an opportunity for a volunteer to, or a current employee to have permission to bring in a service animal. If you scroll down, is it underneath that? Yep, it's right there. So if you keep scrolling, till you find that, there you go. So just that red section right there. And this is just a first reading. But we have, you know, somebody in the community right now as a fully trained therapeutic dog. Titan Hill would love the opportunity to have them come visit and come meet some of their students. So there are just some things that, you know, like for instance, you know, it protects students who have an allergy, make sure that they have proof that they are a actual therapeutic dog, that they are licensed, that the handler is licensed, those types of things, so.
Okay, is there any questions?
You mentioned allergies, and when I read through that, I guess I don't remember. So if a student does have a allergy to the animal, what is the plan? in
Yep,
that
so we
case?
just make sure that they're not allowed to be close to that particular classroom, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Go to 7.03, Imagine Learning License Renewal.
So Imagine Learning is our, can you scroll down? There we go. So Imagine Learning, so is two licenses that we utilize. One is our Edgenuity, and then the other one is MyPath. Yep. So those two combined, we really utilize them a ton in like special education for supplemental services. They can be used for credit recovery. So it's just supplemental online courses that we can take. So.
Is there any questions? All right. We'll then go to 7.04 extruder, is that right? Extruder machine?
Yep, so the extruder machine is a machine that Titan Plastic needs in order to expand their classroom. So they have a new classroom that we're working on it right now. It's in the basement of the middle school. And the extruder machine, if I get this right, helps to essentially speed up the process at which we can break down plastic. So that's how I understand it from very layman's terms. So, but it's a very expensive machine. Without it, they would still have to do everything kind of at a 50 bag per time rate. You know, now they can speed it up and do, you know, many more bags. So, which then allows us to produce things like plastic sheets. That's what they really want to get to, where they can produce like a 4x8 plastic sheet, and then they can sell that to different companies to be able to really utilize it. And then they feel like they're going to be able to, you know, recycle tons of plastic every year. So, but it's an expensive machine. They did just receive the Iowa West grant for $50,000. They've received a STEM or a Step Up STEM grant. They've received grants from Logier, Department of Natural Resources. And so all of this equipment will be purchased through grants that they've written. So they just have never had a place to put this. I guess it's quite the machine.
So they've got the grants in hand to
They do.
support this.
Yep.
Where do they get all the plastic from? Like who, I mean, do they
Well, people
go,
give it to them.
Yeah.
do we have like a,
Donations. So they could go and get it from, because that's the next thing. So the next thing would be to be able to go to like the Council Bluffs
Yeah.
Recycling Center and get it. But their plastic is too dirty because it's usually sitting outside.
Okay.
So they don't have the capabilities now to clean the plastic to be able to melt it down. So it's a lot of just like, they go to grocery stores and they go to, you know, tons of people just, I mean, they have a whole room full of
Yeah.
plastic bags and bottle caps. It's the other thing they do a lot of.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
it is.
But, so that's the next two things, the extruder machine and then also the 3D printers and equipment. That's all for Titan's Plastic. The biggest thing on this is they can currently have about 8 kids working at one time. With the new room and with these new devices, they could have 20 to 25 kids working at one time on different portions of it. So, and that's what they want. They want to be able to switch it from an after-school activity to an actual class. So, but you can't do that when you can only teach 8 kids at one time, so.
So the space they're in right now, they'll fit that.
No, well, right now they're in a corner of Mr. Kern's classroom.
Right.
They are moving to the place where the movie Saw was filmed, in the basement of the middle school.
We toured
And-
that.
Yeah, and so now it's resembling an actual classroom. But again, we are just so out of space that that's what we have to use. And we've had to put a ton of money into it because we have to make sure it's tight. The use of flood like the Dickens down there, so they got it all watertight. They've gotten it, they gotta put new HVAC in there and some ventilation in there, new lighting, new electrical. So new flooring, new drywall. I mean, it's pretty much a gut job. But at the end of the day, again, we're back to the situation where only able-bodied students, you know, I shouldn't say that, only students without mobility issues will be able to utilize it, which is really sad.
It's
So
unfortunate.
we have to make sure that we can figure out a way that all students can utilize all spaces.
So I'm assuming as part of this, you just mentioned it, the exhaust and all of the ventilation is taken care of in the
We-
saw room.
Yes, so all that will be taken care of. I
Sad.
have kind of told them, through our facility plan, that we've kind of given 50,000 this year out of the school's budget and 50,000 next year to help finish up all of those pieces because they're more of it's more of a facility structural piece, you
Yeah.
know? So they've written grants for, I mean, they keep writing grants all the time. They've probably written grants for, the total project at the end will be about $216,000. And they've written grants for well over, actually, we won't even put that much in. They've written grants for almost $160,000 to this point, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that all of the ancillary items to put something like that in there
Yeah.
is thought about.
Electrical's the big thing we have to get in right now, because they keep buying more and more stuff, and it all takes electricity to run, so we're making sure, I keep asking them, I say, you guys are done now, right? Like, so we can get the electrician to go in there and install everything, and then they just hit me with another one today, so I don't know. So, they're excited though, but it'll be really good for kids.
But the kids are excited, because I'm sure they want to get in there. and-
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty phenomenal program, and it's already, gotten big traction around the area and around the state, from industry professionals and who want, who are very interested in helping however they can. I mean, that's why they get grants so easily. They
Is that
just-
offered to sixth graders too, or is it seventh and eighth?
It's just,
I think it's just 7th and 8th right now, but they're expanding it with the new room. They're expanded to high school if students want to come back and still be a part of the club.
Okay.
So,
will it, when you mentioned the classroom, is that a couple of years down the road then? Once all of the infrastructure's in place, or are they going to have classes in it this year?
the goal is they'll have classes for second trimester.
Okay,
So the goal is to be 100% done with that room by November 20th,
okay,
so.
yeah, great news.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to 7.05. You mentioned the 3D printer and equipment.
Yeah, do you guys have any other, I mean, that's just so they can make the forms, so they actually bought a new CNC machine too, a couple of them actually, so that way they can make bigger forms, so they can do bigger things. But what the 3D printers do is they create what's cool is the kids do all of this, like they design on the 3D printers, they print, they have to problem solve to be able to try to figure out why it worked, why it didn't, they make keychains and coasters and
Bowls?
bowls,
Didn't they bring
yeah,
bowls here?
and pottery, and they make, it's crazy. They make, like, they can make cafeteria trays now, like, that's what they're gonna, and they're all, depending on how they make the plastic and what plastic they use, it's all completely edible, like, not the plate,
That's great.
but you can eat off of it, so. You don't wanna eat the plate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, it's just really, it's really cool.
To Mrs. Peterson's question, Mr. Kern is watching, he did say it's open after school to sixth grade.
Okay, good to know. Landon's going to middle school, so
Oh,
I had to ask. I'm intrigued.
Oh,
He
would be
loves
all-
that kind of,
yeah,
well, he's
he would.
taking the design class. It's I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, any other questions on the 3D printers and equipment?
he's doing design and modeling.
Oh,
I think that's the plastics.
Hold on, so this is 21 on top of the 50.
yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Everyone good with the quotes and that?
Yes.
How
Again,
many
they
kids are in
have-
the club right now?
I think he said they had over 20 that are in the club, as far as the after-school club. But if they can make it a class, they'd be able to serve everyone within the class they would do it as like an exploratory,
Got it.
so.
Okay. It's good. Need more of that,
I
the
love it.
middle school levels.
Definitely.
Yeah, anything we can do with manufacturing, that's just a huge area.
Okay, we'll go on then we're at 7.06, the open enroll request. Per Iowa code, we are allowed to go into closed session. So with that, could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 I have to have a roll call vote.
I'm sorry.
Mrs.
Would you
McKenna?
please say roll?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson? Yes. Mr. Stopper?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge? Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Sorry about that. I was thinking when we come out of closed session, we all. All right, we're back from closed session. And we're on to the second time during our agenda that anyone in the audience or anyone online can type something up. It'd be for comments and suggestions to the board.
I'll just say that Mr. Kern was watching earlier.
Okay.
Commented. The question was asked about plastics, and he said different business partners, Majors Plastics, and also Central Community College out of Columbus. This is another place that got plastic.
Okay,
Cool.
good to know.
Thank you.
All right, we'll then go on to action items. 9.01, classified employee handbook update.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I move to approve the updates to 2023-2024 Classified Employee Handbook.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. And following our discussion items number 9.02 is the policy update 105, assistant animals on the first
Nope,
reading.
It'd be 902 would be Imagine Learning license renewal.
But don't we have to,
Nope, it's first reading.
Yep.
No action.
There's no action on
Okay.
first reading.
Yep.
all right, then we'll go to 9.02, Imagine Learning license renewal.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the licensing renewal update with Imagine Learning for Edgenuity for $17,820 and MyPath for $7,195 for a total amount of $25,015.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. 9.03 is the extruder
Yep.
machine.
Yep.
Can I get a motion, please?
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid for the Diamond America for the extruder machine for the total of $54,950.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. 9.04 is the 3D printers and equipment for the Titan Plastic Lab.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid from Form Labs for 3D printers and related equipment for the total of $21,372.33.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. And 9.05 is the open enrollment request.
Madam President,
Who said that? Mr. Stoffer. I wasn't looking.
I'd like to make a motion to deny student A due to insufficient classroom space.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. And now we need one motion for student B.
Madam President,
Mr. Stoffer.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the open enrollment in due to insufficient classroom space.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes. 9.06, employee request for other paid or unpaid leave.
Madam Chair, Mayor.
Ms. Atkins.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the employee leave as presented in closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Rylage?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. Items of interest, future board meetings, 10.01. Our regular next board meeting is September 18th because we have a holiday in there. So it'll be a month before we meet again. Anything else besides the
That's,
football
this
game?
Football game is Friday. School starts on Wednesday, and we are off and running. Oh,
3D printers were not approved. Your action items, you have the extruder machine, which you don't have.
Yeah, no, we do. It was,
We voted.
We did as two separate items.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Yep.
No problem. I need all the help I can get at times, so I have no problem
I
with
didn't- I
that.
didn't
If I had to guess, that came from Dustin asking.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, wait.
I wasn't paying attention.
We got
We
two.
got them all
got
in
it.
there.
Even the shipping on the first one, we gotta take it.
Okay. Anything else? All right, have a good Labor Day, and can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sure we have things to sign. Thank you for listening.